Hello everyone, how's it going? Billy Ballgame here, back with another video. Today's video is kind of going to be a hodgepodge of a few different topics. So first off, I'd like to start out for thanking Greg from Midlife Sports Cards. I answered one of his questions on one of his videos here recently about what are 3 cards that you're targeting for 2024. And not only was Greg nice enough to answer my question, but he also gave an amazing shout out to my channel. And I've bumped up about 10 or 12 subscribers, if not more, since then. So thank you, Greg. Just one of the all-time nice dudes in the hobby. And I can't say enough about him. And I would love to join him on a live stream at some point, because I think our brains work similarly when it comes to collecting vintage cards. So again, thank you, Greg. You're an awesome dude. And I can't thank you enough. The second topic I'm going to talk about is an interesting item I received in the mail recently that you can maybe kind of make out back here. But I'll get into that in more detail here in a second. But the main purpose of this video is I want to talk about why, when I can, when it makes sense, why I like to buy vintage cards ungraded, and kind of the benefits that I've gotten from it, and kind of some of the disadvantages, or what you have to look out for when you buy vintage cards raw or ungraded with the idea to grade them. So I'm going to talk about that here in a bit. And again, that's going to be the main purpose of today's video. And I'm going to show you some of the cards that I've bought over the last few years ungraded and have gotten graded. Some of them I've done very well on, and then some I haven't. So the ones that I haven't done well on, I'm going to explain what happened in those specific incidences and why I didn't do well on those cards. So stick with me. I'm going to flip this camera around and I'm going to cut this, go from a different angle, and talk about this item that I received in the mail yesterday. So hold on and I'll be right back with you. All right, I'm back for the next part of the video. So this item was sent to me courtesy of Seven Collectibles. His name is Steve Sousa. He's out of, he's out of St. Louis. So he has a YouTube channel that he started recently where he does a demonstration on this product. And basically what this is it's an acrylic graded card display. And I think it's pretty cool. So it's got a magnetic top on here. I've got some graded cards that I put in it. So now I'll be able to display these cards instead of keeping them in your traditional classic white box. So these were in my closet in this box marked graded cards. So now I can pull them out of this white box and find a place to set them on a shelf, and I can display some of my cards that I didn't have room to put out anywhere else in my case. It's pretty full, and then my King Griffey Jr. row up here on the shelf is full. So now at least they're out where they're easily viewed instead of stuck in a closet in a white graded card box. So I think this is pretty cool. It's got a magnetic holder on the top. I have in this box SGC, PSA, and Beckett, and I think a CSG card. So they'll all fit in here. So if you would, go check out his eBay channel, I believe, or not his eBay channel, his YouTube channel. I believe it's Seven Collectibles. So go check him out. He does a display on it where he walks through everything, and I think they're pretty cool because now they're not sitting in a white box. I can display them. But here's his card with his info if you are interested in these. but I just thought it was cool. He sent it to me, so I wanted to show it to you all. And again, thank you, Steve. I think this is pretty awesome, so I appreciate you sending it to me. So with that, I will go ahead and cut this, and then I'll go back to talking about graded cards, vintage graded cards versus buying raw graded vintage cards. So hang on, I'll be right back with you. All right, so before I start showing you cards, just a couple more things that I want to talk about. So I've had a lot of subscribers reach out to me recently through my email. They like offering me 60 top set cards. You know, Steve sent me that clear acrylic box. Like, it's just awesome to interact with subscribers, and that not getting sent stuff in the mail for free. That's not why I started this, but just building, you know, kind of a collecting community and having people to interact with and share the love of the hobby is what I started YouTube for. So again, I can't thank you all enough for reaching out to me, watching the videos every week. Again, thank you, Greg, for shouting out my channel. I was hoping to hit 400 subscribers by the time I hit my 1-year YouTube anniversary, and right now I'm at 427. So maybe I'll hit 450 before I do my YouTube anniversary. I don't know, but it's been awesome, just the interactions with everybody here recently on my channel, and it's picked up a lot since Greg shouted out my channel. So again, thank you, Greg. So what I'm going to talk about with these cards, I'm going to pull the numbers. So I'm going to pull how much I actually paid for the card ungraded, how much I spent on grading it, and then I'm going to show you the grades. And then I'll let you know what the card is worth now that it's graded, and we can compare that to the total amount that I have into that card. So again, most of the time, it's worked out very well, but there are a few that it hasn't worked out quite as good on. And I'll talk about that and maybe why that is. So give me just a second. I'll flip this around. I'm going to pull up some numbers, and then I'll be right back with you. All right, so I've crunched the numbers on where all these cards break down. How much I paid for them. Their average value on VCP is what I'm going by, and I have it broken down what I paid for the grading and what I paid for the card. Now, some of them I'm right with the total amount. Well, all of them I'm right on the total amount, but how much I paid for the grading may be a little bit off, because, you know, some of them I may have paid 20 bucks for, some of them I may have paid $24 for, back when SGC was doing their discounts based off of the amount of cards you sent in. So some of the values for the actual card and the grading may be a little bit off. Now, I'm about 50-50 on this, because some of these cards have come down in value. And you know, a few months ago, I was in better on some of these cards than I am now. And another thing, these are all cards for my collection. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are for the 60 top set. So these cards that I'm kind of upside down in or underwater, or however you want to look at it, I'm not looking to sell these. These are part of my collection. So I don't look at it as a loss. I'm just trying, I guess the purpose of this is to kind of show you all what I think is important when you're buying raw vintage cards and looking to grade them. And the factors that have determined for me whether or not I came out ahead on that card, or whether or not I would actually lose money if I went to sell this card today. So this is how I've done it. These are the cards that I've bought. I'm not telling you all to do what you need to do with your collecting and how you evaluate cards. That's not what this is about. This is about me showing you the mistakes that I have made, that allowed the cards to not have the value that I have invested into them. But again, I'm a collector. These are for my collection. So 100% honesty up front. I would rather buy a card already graded 9 times out of 10 because I already know the condition of that card. A lot of the stuff I buy off of eBay. So I know what the condition roughly of that card is going to be once I get it back from eBay. And you'll see and I'll have a couple examples to where pictures on eBay don't always tell the tale of the condition of the card. And I've got a few examples of that. So if I'm going to buy a card in another holder and try to crack it out and send it to SGC, the pictures on eBay don't always tell the story of that card's condition. And raw vintage cards on eBay do not always tell the story of that card's condition. And I've got a couple of examples. Now, of course, I'm going to pay more for a card that's already graded. But again, it's in the condition that I'm looking for. It's already in a slab. So in theory, hopefully, it's not trimmed, it's not altered, which can be a risk when you're buying ungraded cards. Now, luckily, up to this point, if any card has been altered, like these Connie Mack All-Time All-Stars, when I sent those in, I knew they were going to get authentic because they were torn out of the perforations. So other than that, I haven't bought, that I'm aware of at this point, any ungraded cards that are altered or trimmed or anything like that. So far, on all the cards that I've sent in, I've gotten grades on. But sometimes they weren't the grade I thought I was going to get on them. And I'll spin this around and I'll show you the cards that I'm talking about. All right, so now I'm going to start showing you the cards. So now before we get into this, we know the factors that determine a card's value, right? After it's graded. The player, obviously who you're buying, you have a little bit more leeway grade-wise with some players more so than others, and I'll show you a couple examples of that. So obviously the player, the condition of the card itself, and then how much you pay for grading fees are going to determine whether or not you're going to come out ahead value-wise when you buy cards raw and grade them. So the first one I'm going to show you, and I'm going to start with cards that I have not done well with. If I were to sell them today, I would lose money on them. So the first one is this Al Kaline 3.5. Now, some of you may look at this, and I still do, and think, man, that's a really sharp card. How did it get a 3.5? Well, I cracked this out of a BVG, I think it was a 5 holder, and sent it into SGC, and it came back a 3.5 because it's got a slight crease up here, if I can get the camera to find it and focus on it. Right there by the bill of his hat, if you can see it with the light on it, right there. And so I bought this off of eBay, and I couldn't see it in the pictures on eBay. And as a matter of fact, when I cracked it out and sent it into SGC, I didn't see it. And then it came back as a 3.5, and I was like, well, why did this come back as a 3.5? And I looked at it more closely, and that's what I found. So this card, the VCP average price right now is $30.74. I paid $64.50 with, I believe, 30 of that being a grading fee. So I'm over 100% under on this, or 50% of its value. I'm upside down on this card, but it's a great card. It looks sharp. It's going to be a placeholder in my 60 set until I complete it, and then I've got a few cards that I want to upgrade to, a better card, this being one of them. The next one, this is an example of player matters, right? So Whitey Herzog, SGC 3.5. I think I bought this ungraded at a card shop down in Jeff City. And I think I probably paid $20 to grade it maybe. and $4 for the card, something like that. So not a lot of money, right? If I were buying $300 or $400 cards ungraded and sending them into grade and having this happen, then I would definitely be in some hard times, right? But most of the stuff I'm buying is fairly cheap, so it's not a huge loss. And again, this one will hold a spot in my collection until I finish it, or in my 60 set until I finish it, and then I'll upgrade it. But this one has no sales in an SGC 3.5. So what I found that is the closest comp to this would be on January 7th, a PSA 4 sold for $5.99. So I'm $24 into probably at most a $5 card right now. So this one kind of hurts. So these two, this one's an example of the player matters. This one's an example of the condition of the card matters, because I didn't catch the crease. If that would have not been creased and come back as a 4 or 5, I'd have been much better on the Al-K line. This one is an example of condition matters, and this is all on me because I didn't pay attention, or I didn't check the card out close enough, and there's a major flaw in this card. Not a major flaw, but a flaw in this card that I didn't catch. And you can see right here above my thumb, there's a divot in this card. So I bought this card raw at a card show not long after he went in the Hall of Fame, and I probably paid, well, I definitely paid too much for it, and there might be a little bit of a hairline crease right there above the blue. But this is an example of overpaying for an ungraded card. So some of these older guys at card shows, let's take a 60 Topps Sandy Koufax, for example. You know, there might be a mid-grade to maybe a near mint card of an ungraded 60 Topps Sandy Koufax sitting in an old guy's case at a show ungraded for $200 or $250. That is more than a 5 or 6 would be. I don't know what a 7 would be. So to me, that's so overpriced it doesn't even make sense. And this is an example of that, because this card right now, its VCP average price is $27.01. And I paid $95 for it. So I paid $65 for the card, and then I paid $30 to grade it. And at the time, a 5 or a 6 would have been worth about $100. And that's kind of the range that I was figuring this card to be in, except for the fact that I bought it at a show with not very good lighting, didn't bring my reading glasses, and didn't thoroughly investigate the condition of the card as well as I should have. So this card here is all on me, and that will be a candidate for upgrade once I finish the set also. So this one was my first Stan Musial I've ever bought. I just wanted a Stan Musial, and this was before I even decided to do the 60 set. But I bought this off of Greg Morris Cards on eBay. In the description, it said it had a crease, and I looked at the pictures very closely, and I couldn't find a crease anywhere in this card in the pictures on eBay. And I was like, man, that's an amazing card. It's got great centering. The coloring's great. I don't see a crease on it. So I sent it in to eBay or to SGC to get it graded, and it came back as a 3. Well, once it came back, if I can find it, as a 3, I was shocked. And I was like, why is this card a 3? And I looked at it closer, and there's a surface wrinkle on the back here somewhere. I can't remember which side it's on. It's on this side and goes like that, or it's on this side like here. But I mean, to me, this is one of the sharpest 3s that you're ever going to see. I wish I could find the the wrinkle, but I'm not going to spend all day looking for it and bore you all to death. But this one VCP average price right now is $40.96. So total, I'm all in for about 50 bucks. So I think I paid 30 for the card and 20 to grade it, or 20 for the card and 30 to grade it, something like that. But what a great looking card in a 3. So eventually at some point I'll upgrade this, but this is so sharp, I don't know. I'm torn, because man, that's a good looking card. All right, and here's an example. Well, I'm gonna come back to that one. So here I have another card for the 60 top set. This is another example of player matters, because this is in the grade that I'm looking for. This one I think is worth about 15 bucks now. I cracked this out of a BVG 5.5.5, something like that. I think I'm about 30 bucks into it. And again, the value of this has come down. But this is in the grade that I want, so I'll keep it in my collection. And the rest of these cards I don't really have the numbers for, just because I didn't want this video to run way too long. This is one of the cards that I bought off of Chris. Now, this one and the next one I bought all 3 of them off of him, and they graded exactly what in the range I thought they would and was hoping for within my collection. So I'm happy with them. But luckily, I got the grade I did on the Bob Gibson, and that bailed me out, or else I would have paid, twice of what these cards are worth with grading fees and all that stuff. But again, I paid what I paid for them because I knew they were in good condition. I didn't know the Bob Gibson was in as good condition as it was at the time. But again, I paid $30 for grading fees for these. So in this case, grading fee matters. And then the last one I have for the ones I'm kind of upside down in is this 79 Topps Nolan Ryan. Now again, I'll keep this. It's, a good condition card, a 79 and a 7. I'm happy with that. I'll keep that all day long. I bought this ungraded at a shop in Colorado for $20. Probably back in 05, 06, somewhere around that range. And I paid $30 to grade it. So I'm $50 into this card, but prices have come down, and now the VCP average price is $24.09. But again, this is going to stay in my collection, so it's not like I'm losing money if I don't sell it. So, but this is an example of, grading fee, $30 grading fee matters. So those are all the ones that I maybe have not done so well on. And then I have a few in here that I would break even on if I were to sell them. But again, I'm not looking to sell them, so it's fine with me. So this one I showed recently, this one I would be about even on. I'm ahead because Chris paid to grade it for me, because I did the leg work for his order, and he pays for a couple cards, and this is one I sent in. So this one I paid 10 bucks for. If I would have paid to grade this, it would have been 15 bucks, so $25 all in, and the VCP average price right now is $22.50. So really I look at that as a break-even card. And then this one again, I showed with it recently. This one is a VCP average price of $70.59. I paid $10 to get it, or to buy it, and I would have paid $15 for grading. So I would be $25 all in on this card. So I would be about 50 bucks ahead. And this is an example of where condition matters, right? So if this would have graded as a 6, it would maybe be a break-even card. So the moral of the story for me is, with all these cards, is just to make sure that I look very closely at condition. And that's why I brought my reading glasses to the last show we went to and carefully examined the Colavito, because I'm going to send it in to get graded. And if it doesn't grade as a 5 or a 6, then that's another card that I'll be upside down in and looking to upgrade in my 60 top set. So this is one of my best examples of buying a raw card and send it into grading and winning. So this one, VCP average price right now is $183. And I think last summer or earlier in the spring, somewhere around there, this would have been about a $300 card. But it's come down a little bit. So I'm $70 all in for this card. I think it's, you know, 40 for the card and 30 for grading, or, you know, 50 for the card and 20 for grading, somewhere in that ballpark. But this is one of my favorite cards in my collection, and I love this Yastrzemski. Another example of how condition matters. And then this one's just all about the player. So this is 64 tops Hank Aaron. So even in a 4, I'm ahead on this card if I were to sell it. So VCP average price is $113.12. So this is another card that I'm $70 all in on. And again, I think it was $40 for the card and 30 for grading, or 50 for the card and 20 for grading, something like that. But this I bought at one of the first shows I went to once I moved back to Missouri. And I really do think you could buy, if you spend 30, 40, 50 bucks for a Hank Aaron and 15 bucks to grade it, you know, you're anywhere from $65 to $45. I think you would have to get some really poorly conditioned cards to not come out ahead on those, on most of his cards from the 60s, and probably a lot of them from the 70s too. So this is an example of player matters. So if you can find guys like Hank Aaron and Willie Mays and stuff like that and buy them for fairly cheap, like, why not buy them and send them in to get graded, as long as you examine them very thoroughly and you have a pretty good idea that they're not trimmed or they're not altered. And most of you hobby veterans, you know this. I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, but if I can help anybody, you know, buy cards raw cheap and get them graded and come out ahead, then, I mean, why not do that? So that's really kind of the purpose of this video. So this one I would also consider probably a break even. This one, its VCP average value right now is $58.49. I paid $54.70. It was in a BVG 6 or 6.5, I think. And I paid $34.70 and $20 to grade it. So most of these BVG crackouts, 2 of the 3 I'm kind of in the break-even range on, and then really the only one I have not done well on is the Al Kaline, and that was just because I missed that crease in it. But this is a sharp card. I'm happy to have it, and it will stay in my 60 top set. And then this is an example again of player matters. So this one's in a 3.5. And I bought it raw at a show the same day I bought the Aaron from the same dealer. This one I'm in 70 bucks for. Again, 40 or 50 for the card, 20 or 30 for grading. Its VCP average price right now is $129. So this one will be one that I upgrade. But this was the first Willie Mays card that I bought in my collection once I got back into everything. And I just wanted a Willie Mays card and thought this looked like it was pretty clean, in pretty good condition, and it was a pretty good deal. So I went ahead and bought it. And this was before I decided to build the 60 top set. So this will be an upgrade, but I mean, I'm ahead, so I can't complain about it. And then last but not least, I didn't run the numbers on this, but this Bob Gibson is an example of condition matters. So this is one of the cards that I got from Chris, and I sent them all 3 in and got them graded. And this card is really what saved the whole deal, because of this card more than makes up for what I in theory would be losing on the Brooks Robinson and the Harmon Killebrew. So again, this is an example of condition matters. So Bob Gibson in a 5 is probably about $100 card. In a 7, it's considerably more than that. So again, sometimes condition matters. So that's all for the cards that I had pulled out to show you. So I'll go ahead and spin this around and wrap it up. This is going to be kind of a long video, and I apologize. All right, so to wrap it up, for me, a general rule of thumb, what I do when I look to buy ungraded cards that I'm considering to send in for grading is I look at the card, I evaluate what condition I think that's in. So I come up with a grade number in my head. So let's say I'm looking at a card and I think it's going to grade a 5. I'll subtract 1 grade from that, and then I'll subtract the $15 grading fee or whatever I'm going to pay to have it graded, and then that's what I want to pay for that card. So if you're buying ungraded stuff and you're paying, close to or at what a mid-grade or whatever grade you think that card's going to be in, you got to be really careful with that, because let's say, again, we'll use the 60 Koufax. If you're paying $200 for an ungraded Koufax, then that card's got to grade a 6 or maybe even a 7. I don't know what they go for in that grade off the top of my head, but so you've got to be at that grade or better, and then you've got to factor in the $15 SGC grading fee or whoever you're going to send it to. So be very mindful of the amount that you're paying for that card if you're going to buy it ungraded, because that all factors in. And so for me, an example of that would be the Jim Cott. I paid about a mid-grade card price for that card ungraded, and I missed condition issues on it, so it put me upside down. So if you're looking at a raw card and you figure in, I'm paying $200 for this card, in a 6 it's a $200 card, then we've got it, and you've got to subtract $15 grading fee out of that. You've got to be pretty well certain that that is going to grade a 6, or you're automatically you're putting yourself behind right off the bat. So to me, the most important factor when you're buying ungraded cards is the price that you pay for it. Because if you buy the right player and you get them for a decent price, you're not going to lose money, in theory, in just about any grade. A 60 Topps Hank Aaron in a 1 is probably worth 20, 30, 40 bucks. I don't know off the top of my head, but if you're going to pay 40 bucks for one and it grades as a 1, you're probably going to be okay. So again, I like to buy ungraded cards and send them into grading when I can get them, at a good cost, to where I'm pretty sure of the condition, and I get them cheap enough to where once I factor in grading, I'm going to be okay on them. But a lot of times that's hard to find at a card show, just because a lot of these guys price their ungraded cards so high, and a lot of times they're not willing to negotiate. So bottom line is, that's why I prefer to buy a graded card already, because there are way fewer variables to factor in or worry about when I'm buying an ungraded card, especially if I'm doing it off of eBay. So I really don't buy any ungraded cards off eBay unless they're commons for my 60 set. If I'm going to consider buying an ungraded card, I'm going to hold that in my hand and I'm going to see it in person. I'm going to be able to smell it. I'm going to be able to feel it. I'm going to be able to closely examine the surface and the edges and know if it's been, not always, but have a relatively good idea whether or not it's been trimmed or color added or stuff like that. Especially if I bring my reading glasses now that I'm getting a little older and my close-up vision isn't what it used to be. So anyway, I hope that you either found this video entertaining, because you can laugh at me for being a goober for buying some of these cards and paying what I paid for them, or it can help you out at card shows and help you kind of identify what ungraded cards you should be looking at to buy. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope everybody has a good one, and until the next time, I'll talk to you later.